Hey everybody, this is Graz from the GKBC, and welcome back to AJ behind the camera.
Hello.
It's been the doctor for a while on her phone. I'm here to do a special. In one of my previous videos, Kim at the Paper Traveler channel will be linked below, said that since I read so much every month, maybe it would be neat if I gave my favorites, or something like that. So today, I'm going to give you my top 5 and bottom 5 from June. And I'll get into that in just a second. But I have to show you what came in the mail today. I mentioned this on my TBR yesterday. It's The Now of Brown by Glenn Dillon. It's a graphic novel, and it came in the mail. And this is the front cover, and it's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure that's a washing machine head, which is kind of odd because in Saga that Tad and I are reading, there's TV heads. So, and then on the back it's got this little dude, which is, he's kind of neat. And then I hope this comes across on video, but the pages are painted purple, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that looks good.
So this is actually going to be a shelf book, either way, really, because the purple's nice. But I had to show that off. Also, our Book of the Month books came today. We got 2. One is completely off genre for our channel. But the first one is Dark Corners by Megan Golden. It's a thriller, obviously. We like thrillers, mysteries, suspense, all that stuff. And a lot of them come from the Book of the Month. But the other one was the fantasy pick this month. It sounded good. I'm not going to go into it right now, but the cover's awesome. It's called Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong, which is pretty neat. I wonder if the cover's anything. Nope, it's just a regular old black, but that's okay. I thought that was kind of neat. So those all came in the mail today. Anyway, I'm just going to dive right in. Again, thanks to Kim for /Cat with all of her birds and her bees. That came out really wrong. I'm so sorry. Wow. At least once a video, I put my foot right in it. So it wouldn't be a GKBC video without that. By the way, Tad, I am going to get to Hyperion. I promise. I finished it at the end of last month. I just haven't been ready to do a review yet. When I do, though, it's going to be my ups and downs, likes, dislikes, negatives, positives format. So I know that you kind of like that if you're watching this. Okay, let's get into the video today. I'm not going to show covers. I'm just going to talk about the books. I've got their information here. I'm going to give a little thought of why they are where they are on my list. I'm going to do the negatives, or the 5 bottom first, and then finish on the positive note. I read 24 books last month in June. Really, it's like 24.4 because I started Luminaries. But 24 finished books last month, and these are the 5 that were rated the lowest. Now, my rating system, I think I have shown many times in the past, goes to 10, and I give just decimal points. So I'm going to start at the 5th worst and work my way down or up, however you want to think about it, to the worst book this month. For each book, I'll give you the title, the category I read it for, the page count, the author, my rating, and then the Goodreads information. Like, its Goodreads rating, how many ratings it had, and how many reviews it has. So, okay. In it, the 5th worst book, The Confession by Dominic Stansberry. That was my hard case crime book. It's 218 pages. On Goodreads, it's a 3.59 out of 5. For me, it's a 5.52 out of 10. So that's kind of like a 2.26 on the Goodreads rating. So, and that's over 601 ratings and 81 reviews. I didn't really get it. I mean, I got it, I guess. It's just, it wasn't really my thing. I like hard-boiled noir, hard case stuff. And I saw what was coming really early in this, and that kind of ruined the rest of the book. So there was no real twists. There was no real, I mean, it was basically, okay, I got it figured out. Now it's just, gathering the information that proves what I already know. Not very well written. Also, I'm going to insert here, if you want to have an in-depth review of any of these 10 books, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do that. It might take me a little bit of time, but I'm happy to do it. Okay, fourth worst of June. Sunshine by Robin McKinley. This was for the vampire category. 477 pages. Goodreads, a 3.84. For me, 5.16, so 2.08. Because you have to take my rating and divide it by 2 to get a Goodreads rating. And that is just incredibly across 41,641 ratings and 4,815 reviews. This is kind of I guess more of a popular pick. I didn't realize that. And I'm not a big fan of it, because when I read a vampire book, I want vampires. I don't want them to sparkle, which they didn't in this. But I don't want them to be in like love stories. Although I do enjoy the Anne Rice books, but that's not quite love stories. And in this one, it's more like a vampire fantasy book. I mean, yeah, there's vampires in it, but they're almost secondary to the magic system and the fantasy realm that the characters live in and deal with. And it just wasn't for me. So that's kind of why it's this low. The third worst is called Cyborg 4 by Martin Kaiden. This was a 1975 book, and this is actually subtitled The $6 Million Man, Book 8. And this was 205 pages, and on Goodreads it's a 3.6. For me, it's a 4.30, which is a 2.15. Yeah, I guess 5.16 wouldn't be 2.08. I apologize for that, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. And the Cyborg 4, that's across 42 ratings and 7 reviews, so not a very popular book at all. I watched, in syndication, I wasn't quite old enough to watch it when it was new, but in syndication I watched both The $6 Million Man and The Bionic Woman. Love Lindsay Wagner. I'm telling you what, I will go be a houseboy for Lindsay Wagner, even now in her 70s. Yeah, I'm probably going to get beat for that after the video by my AJ, but that's okay.
I don't care as long as you send me money.
Yeah, I'll get paid. I'll send every cent to you. But I remember both shows being very interesting and exciting, and I've watched a few here and there now recently, and they're still exciting. How did Martin Kaiden take The $6 Million Man and make it boring? I mean, that's basically what he did. Now, I will say it's really funny. Early on, there's a character in here who's getting the bionic treatment, and his name is Dick Manners. I mean, every time I read that name, I chuckled. So, and if I have to explain that to you, then you're on the wrong channel. Okay, second worst book of the month is called The Deep by John Crowley. This is another 1975 book, 186 pages. On Goodreads, it's a 3.45. I gave it a 3.69, so that means it's less than a 2-star for me. And the Goodreads ratings is across 638 ratings and 61 reviews. And I'm telling you what, I read this just last month. I have yet to finish a book in July, and I don't remember what this was about. I rate them as soon as I'm done reading them on my computer, so that tells you everything. I don't remember anything about it. The Deep. Maybe it's underwater. I think it might be underwater. It might be a fantasy book. I don't remember. So there you go. Now, the worst book I read last month, and actually this is the second worst book I've read this year. And it would be the worst if I wouldn't have had that mistake in January reading the wrong book that was supposed to be a Judy Blume book, but was misrepresented on Amazon. And this book is The Dead Father by Donald Barthelme. Barthelme? Whatever. And this is another 1975 book, and it was 177 pages. I'm going to give my rating first. I feel like I'm kind of being confusing. My rating on this was 2.08, which if you divide it by 2 for Goodreads, it's a 1 star. And that on Goodreads, for some reason, this is a 3.77. And that's 2,208 ratings and 183 reviews. I guess I understand why this is rated that high and why people tend to like it and why it has so many ratings. I think I looked it up. It's postmodernistic or something, and I was confused the whole time through, and it just didn't gel with me on the way that it was written. It made no sense to me, and it seems like it tried to be too funny for its own good. And I'll tell you, after reading that this is kind of like the norm for this author, he's on my probably never going to read again list. I really, really struggled to finish this book. So, I mean, it's just not for me. If you're into conversations that go nowhere and don't connect from like what I say to what that person says, and whatever, and storylines that make absolutely zero sense, and speeches that have a lot of nonsense in them, then this is for you. But those are my 5 worst books of June, for me. Excuse me. Again, if you've read any of those and you disagree with me, let me know. Or if you agree with me, let me know. But I can't, in good conscience, recommend any of these 5. Because, I mean, seriously, they're all under 2.5 stars on the Goodreads scale for me. I'm sorry, barely. I mean, Confession is like 2.76, but still, or 2.56. I don't know. Anyway, I'm confusing myself. I apologize. Now let's get into my top 5 best favorite books of June. These 5 a couple of them just blew me away. Anyway, number 5 was, get ready for this title. This is kind of crazy. Do Black Patent Leather Shoes Really Reflect Up? By John R. Powers. That's 312 pages. My rating was an 8.29, which is basically like a 4.15. In Goodreads, it's a 3.98. And that's across 552 ratings and 41 reviews. I loved it. It's basically just like a tale of this kid who lives in this neighborhood, and it's him growing up, and the idiots that he hangs out with, and the stupid reasons he does things, and how everything is about girls. Which, if you've been a boy, or if you growing up, everything's about girls, whether you want to admit it or not. But that was my number 5 book. I will probably read this again in the future. And I don't reread a lot, so there's way too many new books to me from decades past and now to reread, unless they're like top favorites. But this is pretty good. Number 4 best was Sweeny Todd, or The String of Pearls, or Sweeny Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. This was a Penny Dreadful. I have a book of the more popular Penny Dreadfuls, and this was, I don't have the author for this one. I mean, it was written in the 1840s or something like that, so it's the original. It was 255 pages. I gave it an 8.46. And in Goodreads, it's a 4.08, so we're pretty close on that one. And that's across 18,232 ratings, and 513 reviews. Do I really have to say why Sweeny Todd's amazing? I mean, I will give you this, though. The movie, if you've seen the movie, which is based on the play, I guess, is not at all like the book. I mean, the setting is the same, and some of the principal players are the same, but the love story that's inserted to give Sweeny Todd a backstory from the movie, where he's Benjamin Barker and he's doing all this because the magistrate stole his wife. Mrs. Lovett and Sweeny Todd are evil from the word go in the book, and that's all I'm going to say. Unless you want me to say more, let me know. My third favorite book this month was Disturbing the Peace by Richard Yates. 278 pages, 8.61 for me. Only a 3.81 on Goodreads across, and that's 2,658 ratings. Got it right that time. And 256 reviews. This was brilliant to me. It's a normal dude who sells like insurance or ads in a magazine or something. And he's a strong alcoholic and he's a womanizer. He cheats on his wife. And then it shows him like going insane. I mean, like legitimately going insane. He ends up in an asylum. He proves that he's sane enough to get out of the asylum. He's going to make a movie with some college kids that are friends with his current lover, not his wife. And he's going to make a movie with them about his time in the asylum, and then that fades, and then he leaves his wife and goes to California with his girlfriend, and they're trying to make the movie, and it all falls apart, and then he ends up back in an asylum, and he's just insane. And at one point, you actually think, well, geez. They make you think that he killed his wife and son and is now in California on a spree. And it turns out that's just a delusion in his head. It's brilliant. I couldn't put it down. I read that in about a few hours in one day. It was incredible. But see, that's how you know that my rating system is fair, because I rate a bunch of categories. And I rate them, so when they're all added up, it might not be the best book I read that month or whatever. Even though when I was reading, I was like, there's nothing going to beat this. But I have two that did. My second favorite book of the month, Epitaph. Oh, Disturbing the Peace was a 1975 book. So was Black Patent Leather Shoes. They were both 1975 books. Sweeny Todd was a bonus that I read at the end, because I was slowly reading each of the. Like at the end of each day, I would read one of the Penny Dreadfuls in that book to like cleanse my day. But okay, number 2 is Epitaph by Mary Doria Russell, and this was my brick, 500 pages or more, and it was 577 pages. It tied Disturbing the Peace. It's an 8.61, and on Goodreads it's a 4.13, so it's actually the highest rated book of these 10 on Goodreads. And that's over 5,869 ratings and 1,085 reviews. And Epitaph is basically, it's basically supposed to be the true story of the gunfight at the OK Corral. It basically deals with like the behind-the-scene players and the women mostly of the men. The wives of the men and the girlfriends of the men. And I guess the story was taken from, eventually it was taken from the author who wrote, like interviewed daily the widow of Wyatt Earp. So it's very factual and good. And now we get to my favorite book of June. Actually, I think it's in my top 10 of the year, maybe even top 5. This book was incredible. I had to force myself to put it down to go to sleep even. It's called Dark Matter, not the one that you're thinking of, not by Blake Crouch. It's Dark Matter by Michelle Paver, and it's my ghost story, and it was 246 pages. I gave it an 8.78, so that's almost 4.5. But on Goodreads, it's only a 3.97. So, and that's over 16,018 ratings and 2,151 reviews. Dark Matter by Michelle Paver is a fantastic ghost story where these 3 lads from England go to the Arctic at the top of Greenland to, I don't know, they're on an expedition to take readings and stuff of, I mean, you forget about that almost immediately because the on the ship right up there, the captain doesn't want to drop him off, and he's being real mysterious. And the narrator, it's written kind of like in a journal format, which I really love. And by hook or crook, the two of the explorers or expeditioners get sick. One gets sick, and he has to go back to London, and his friend goes with him, and the narrator's up there all by himself in the Arctic alone, with sled dogs as his only company. Or is it? There's something else that is keeping him company, and just the descent into an amazing haunting, and the fact that it's written as if it's like based on true events. Wow. I honestly, while I was reading that, because I read this after I read Disturbing the Peace, and I thought that this was going to be one of the few books of my year that it makes it over 9, because I don't think I've had very many. Just a small handful. So I think this is in my top 5. Maybe I'll let you know that soon. But it's amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. If you're into ghosts, madness, solitude, survival, expeditions, like the story making you feel frigid and cold. It's beyond amazing. But that's my top 5 of June and my bottom 5 of June. If you want to hear more about any of these books, please let me know. I'd love to talk about them more. I'm not going to go on anymore for this. Hyperion is coming, I promise. I'll get back on the track on Comic Book Sunday/Monday. And I will link Kim and Tad's channels below. And I guess that's it. So until next time, read more.